In the Gospel reading, Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem and headed for the cross. By now, we might imagine that the disciples would have begun to understand what awaited Jesus in Jerusalem. After all, in Mark's Gospel, this is the third time he's told them what will happen up there. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they'll condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit upon him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days, he will rise again. But the disciples don't get what Jesus is on about and what's being asked of them. On several occasions, Jesus says, "Do you not understand? Don't you guys get it yet?" But before we condemn the disciples as being rather dim-witted, let's see their denseness as actually encouraging. After all, we struggle, don't we, to grasp the implications of the gospel, to understand what Jesus is asking of us. Yet Jesus used these people as he uses us to be his instruments in bringing about the reign of God. Now, on this occasion, James and John compound their misunderstanding and use a rather childish tactic to manipulate Jesus to their own advantage. "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." Now, like any prudent parent, Jesus makes them say what they really want before he'll reply. And they said to him, "Grant us to sit one at your right hand and one at your left in your glory." When the other 10 disciples heard this, they got angry. Not, I suspect, because they thought the request was inappropriate, but because they wanted those places for themselves. They imagine a scene where Jesus will be triumphant, with themselves sitting in positions of honor and power at King Jesus' right and left. They simply haven't heard Jesus at all, or refused to hear, even though he has repeated the prediction several times. But let's not get judgmental with James and John or the others. After all, they're simply playing by the norms they know, norms that govern our society. Everybody wants to be somebody. It's natural. The story of humankind is the story of people trying to move up the scale of importance. As Henri Nouwen says, the long, painful history of the church is the history of people ever and again tempted to choose power over love, control over the cross, being a leader over being led. The request by James and John simply reflects how humans have always behaved. What's in it for me? And it's a theme running through the Bible, through human history, and I dare to suggest through our own lives, either consciously or unconsciously. Shared glory, honoured positions, closeness to powerful people, these are ways of being somebody. If we can't be the honoured guest or the one with the power, then being close by is the next best thing. Some of the glory and honour may spill over onto us. But being close to Jesus has its consequences. Jesus said to them, "You don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I'm baptized with?" This is about sharing Jesus' suffering. By the time Mark wrote his gospel, Herod Agrippa had killed James for his role as leader in the Jerusalem church. So being close to Jesus, it can be a dangerous thing. Now, we aren't likely to be executed for our faith, but we need to let our desire for power and prestige, for prominent and positions of honour, to die. Jesus offers a radically different way of living. It's called servanthood. Whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be a slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The cup from which Jesus drank and that he invites us to drink from is self-emptying love, the giving of one's own life in service of others. The baptism with which he was baptized is a burial of the old way of life, with its power games and the rising of God's reign of justice, of generosity and compassionate love. James and John may have asked the wrong question. They may not have understood what they were requesting when they asked to be seated on the right hand and the left hand of Jesus, but at least they asked the right person. They knew that somehow true greatness lay with Jesus. And their question reflects one that lies within the hearts of all of us. It's just that the answer they got wasn't what they expected. We're left with some questions. What's our view of greatness? What does it mean to be a servant of others? How can we serve others? What will that mean tomorrow morning? I can't answer those questions for you. We've got to work them out in our own lives, though I think Bob Dylan got it right. You may be an ambassador to England or France. You may like to gamble. You might like to dance. You may be the heavyweight champion of the world. You may be a socialite with a long string of pearls. But you're going to have to serve somebody. Yes, indeed. You're going to have to serve somebody. So, who will it be? When Jesus gives his life as a ransom, he frees us not to become great as the world understands greatness, but to be the servant of others. To be the first, you have to be a slave to all.